So to do a cranking vacuum test, we've removed this fuel pump relay from right there inside of the fuse block, so that way there's no fuel coming to the engine, so we can crank it without it starting and measure the vacuum.
Very good.
So we're idling at about just under 1,000, probably about 800 RPM. And our vacuum is right about there. So it is normal, within the normal operating range of normal engine idle vacuum.
All right, so we have now created a misfire by unplugging this ignition coil right here. So now we can see our vacuum readings and how they have changed. All right, you can start it. Pretty much. All right, so we have gone ahead and plugged that coil back in to get rid of the misfire, and now we have unplugged where is it, this hose right here from right here to create another vacuum leak, or to create a vacuum leak in the engine. And now we're going to test to see how much our vacuum has changed.
As you can see, the truck is idling normally, maybe a little bit higher than it was before. And the vacuum is still good for this motor. It's almost a 20, so probably 18 or 19 inches of mercury on the gauge. But, I mean, other than the check engine light, which was there before. Oh, now it's idling lower. So it's still idling well though, and still has good vacuum. So now we're doing a cruising vacuum test. So this is to simulate, I guess, the car while it's driving. So we're gonna start the car, which will go ahead and start it, and then we're gonna increase the engine RPMs to 2,500.
Have it at 2,500 RPM, trying to keep it steady. Our vacuum is right around, looks like 22 inches of mercury. And I'll decrease it and we'll see where it goes. And it drops back down to around 17. You can see we're back to idle.
Okay, now we're going to do an acceleration vacuum video where we start the car and accelerate it quickly, and then measure the vacuum results. So Justin, go ahead and start the car. This is a normal idle. As you can see, the vacuum is doing well at about 18 inches of mercury. Now when you increase the idles, or increase the RPMs very quickly, and watch the vacuum gauge do it one more time, you can see that the vacuum gauge kind of spikes, and then when you go back down to idle, it returns to normal.
As you can see, we're at idle right now. This is a little over 500 RPM. Our vacuum is right around that 17. Yeah, it looks like it's around, yeah, I'd say it's pushing 18 right now. And what I will do is just quickly push the throttle with my foot, and you'll see the vacuum reading.
All right, everyone, so this is the misfire lab. So what we'll be doing today in this video is looking at the vacuum gauge whenever we disconnect all 4 of these cylinders ignition. So we're going to look at the change in vacuum. So right now we're idling. And this is our vacuum right now. So we just disabled 1 cylinder. We'll call this cylinder number 1. And that dropped our vacuum a little bit. So now we'll plug that back in. And we can see our vacuum rise back to where it was. So now when we disable cylinder 2, the vacuum drops again. And when we plug it back in, it will rise back to normal. Again, when we do cylinder 3, do the same thing and unplug that coil pack. The vacuum doesn't change that much, but it still dropped.
Plug it back in.
Yeah, so now I plug it back in.
Nice one.
And cylinder number 4, that one didn't really change at all. You can hear a difference in the way the motor is running, for sure. And then cylinder 4 just got plugged back in, and as you can see, there was like barely any change. More so on cylinders 1 and 2 than 3 and 4. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. All right, so today me and Justin are working on lab sheet number 4, the compression test. So, whoopsies, just kicked the charger out of the wall. So here we have, this is cylinder 1 back here. We have this compression tester in it. We took out the coil and the spark plug and put this compression tester in, and have the battery hooked up to a charger so that the starter can continue to crank, so the battery does, the battery doesn't die. And so now we're going to crank it and see what this pressure is at. Also, we've taken the fuel pump relay out. All right, so go ahead. That's good. So on this cylinder number 1, we have about 160 PSI. Cylinder number 2. That peaked out at about 165. Cylinder 3 compression test. That's good. All right, this one gets up to about 160, 165 maybe. Oh yeah, cylinder 3.
All right, we are doing a compression test on cylinder 4. All right, start it or crank it. A little bit more. You could probably go a little bit more. That's good. You can see you're right around a little bit, right around like 160 PSI. So the minimum is 142, so the cylinder is good. All right, this is a compression test on cylinder number 5. All right, go for it. You're good. Let's see. This is around a little above 150. So again, the minimum is 142, so we are in spec. All right, so this is a compression test of cylinder number 6. Have our compression tester hooked up. All right, you can see around 160. So we are in spec.